And I want to share with you what I want to do for this upcoming year. We don't have to worry about Oshkosh for this year, but we should be thinking about fundraising, because Oshkosh was very expensive for many of us, and some of our young people had very generous people to sponsor them at the very last minute, which is great. But if we start thinking about Oshkosh now, we don't have to worry about it, when it comes to that year, down to the last minute. So if you guys have ideas of fundraising for the next 5 years, I mean, some of you will have children here, some of you won't, but if we can defray the cost somehow, that'd be great. But that's not actually part of our agenda. I want to tell you an experience that I had many years ago. I went to an awards dinner with my mom and dad for Washington Adventist Hospital. My mom was getting a service award, and it was at a hotel ballroom in Bethesda. After we ate, a guy got up on this elevated platform and paced 3 ways, paced back 3 ways, made another left, and paced 3 ways, and then 3 steps, and then took another 3 steps. And he was doing that. And it was quiet because he caught the people's attention. We were wondering why he did that. He stopped and he says, "This is an area that I lived in for 6 years." He was a prisoner of war in Vietnam. His jet plane had gotten shot down, and he was a prisoner of war. And so this was the area that he was for 6 years. And so after he was released, he was in a restaurant in Kansas City. And a guy a couple tables over next to him looked at it, kept looking at him. The jet pilot was like, "I don't know this guy." He keeps looking at me. Finally, he gets up and comes over and shakes his head. "You're Charlie Plum, aren't you? You're Captain Charlie Plum." He's like, "How do you know that?" And he says, "I packed your parachute." And I want to read just a little excerpt from his book here. It says, "Recently, I was sitting in a restaurant in Kansas City. A man about 2 tables away kept looking at me. I didn't recognize him. A few minutes later, into our meal, he stood up and walked over to my table, looked down at me, pointed his finger in my face, and said, 'You're Captain Plum.' I looked at him and I said, 'Yes, sir, I am Captain Plum.' He said, 'You flew jet fighters in Vietnam. You were on the aircraft carrier Kid Car. You were shot down. You parachuted into enemy's hands and spent 6 years as a prisoner of war.' I said, 'How in the world did you know all that?' He replied, 'Because I packed your parachute.' And Captain Plum says, I was speechless. I staggered to my feet, held out my very grateful hands of thanks. This guy came up with just the proper words. He grabbed my hand, he pumped my arm and said, 'I guess it worked.'" So we go through life interacting with different people. And when I was a Pathfinder, I had people that I interacted with. I interacted with family, I interacted with friends, I interacted with my teachers and preachers, and my classmates and so forth. And we have relationships with different people. And through Pathfinders, we as leaders are in a position to influence people, to lead them, to mentor them, to teach them, to guide them. And so to me, I think it's a heavy responsibility, because we play an influence, whether if it's positive or negative. And so as we go through this upcoming year, I want us to remember that whatever we say, however we act, there's a certain influence that we impact on our young people. So the parallel you see with Captain Plum's experience is that we as Pathfinder leaders, counselors, teachers, are somehow packing these young people's parachutes throughout life. And we're in enemy territory, not called Vietnam, but called Earth. So when we have a positive word or a positive encouragement, it's helping them pack their parachute for life. We talk about being honest, being true, being kind. These are our pledge and law, and how much do we practice it amongst each other, and how much do we practice it and apply it to our young people? So as we go through this coming year, let's continue to show Jesus' love to each other and also to our young people, through our relationships with each other and through our relationship with them. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like a sales pitch, but if you truly think about it, we're put in a heavy responsible role. And we can make or break the deal. We can pack the parachute so that it works, or we can pack a parachute and it won't work, and then something will happen to that quote unquote pilot. Something will happen to our pathfinder. So with that, I just want you to keep in mind that we like to keep a presence and a spirit of unity among us as leaders. You know, if there's something wrong with me, if there's something wrong with another counselor, let's take it and use biblically, you know, to come together and talk amongst ourselves and see if we can handle it, and not do it in front of each other, or not do it in front of our young people, definitely. Because you know, as teachers and as leaders in your workplaces and as students, you know that the kids can see us. You know, they see us, they see how we are, and we're not all perfect, but this is just something to keep in mind as we go through. Because I really had a good time at Oshkosh with the friend group on our bus. Dr. Vicky was on our bus. We had a good time. Miriam and Larry were on our bus. We had a good time. I mean, but with these kids, they had a good time, but they listened too, which was really good, and I was happy about that. If you look at the agenda, you can see that we're going to go over a few things, and several people are going to come up here and talk about the various topics. In fact, they might still be eating, but the next item on the agenda is introduction to the staff and organizational chart. All right. I want you to be aware and know that we have a new kitchen staff leadership. Actually, we have new kitchen leadership, and that's Evelise Melendez. She will be our new. Did I say that right? Yeah. She will be our new kitchen leader. And yeah, no, that's fine. It's Edgar Escobar, Evelise Melendez. And anyway, so she's going to be our new kitchen leader, and she's actually choosing some of her own crew that she wants, and then of course others will help out too. So we're going to have that's one of the changes that we have, and I believe we're going to have Salma Moretta, who is Nicole Moretta, who is a friend going into companion. We think her mom is going to help out because we've been in communication with her, and she actually said that she had prayer, and she felt that God's leading. She had been away from leadership for a while from church, and now she's seriously considering helping us out. We have in the back Kim Watts. Can you stand up, Kim, so we can see who you are? Kim is, and I think you guys have seen her, she's familiar. She's going to be joining our friend as a counselor, and Rachel will be working with Kim. And you know Rachel Manuel? She's up here, she's over here. She's going to be our instructor, and you're going to be the lead counselor. We're working on other counselors too. I believe we have Jason Inanga helping us out. He's Javin's dad. He's going to be helping us out as well, because we need another male leader in that club or in that class. And then we have another person, Randy Miang. This is my brother. Randy, can you stand up? This is my brother, and I'll let you determine who's older and who's younger. But Randy actually was a director for the New Hope Nighthawks for several years, right? And he actually took them to Oshkosh. And Randy's going to be in charge of drill, and we have some people who are actually doing drill now. We have Lysho, we have Rachel, and we have Jessica Cooley, who already are doing that. You know, it's interesting because after Sabbath's drill at Oshkosh, one of our friend's girls came up to me. She got up from her seat And she said, Mr. Yang, can we do that? And it was Mariah. Mariah, she wanted to do that. And I told her, I said, yeah, we can do it, but you need to have discipline. And so we, if you remember, on Sabbath, we were marching to the outside sign to take pictures with the Welcome Pathfinders to Oshkosh sign. And she was in line and she kicked this plastic bottle. It was empty, it was trash. And I looked at her and I shook my head. I said, you know, meaning don't kick it. She kicked it again. So I went up to her and I said, remember you told me that you wanted to do marching and I told you to kick discipline? And she said, yes, Mr. Yang. I said, well, if you want to show me your discipline, you would pick up that bottle and you would hang on to it until we find the trash and you throw it away. She went over there and picked it up. And I totally forgot about the rest of the day. That evening around dinner time, she brought it to me. She says, Mr. Yang, here's that bottle you want me to carry all day. So she's hungry to be in the drill team. So she, you know, that shows me that she's dedicated. So I said, Brian, go ahead and just throw it away. So you guys have someone who's really wanting to try. And you know, believe it or not, these young people are moldable, I guess, if that's the word. You know, because we're shaping and molding them and influencing them. So, and we just have to keep at it if they don't continue. So, but anyway, that's where we are. We have TLT instructors. They're not really new, but we have Lyshel and we have Rachel. Rachel is going to be the friend instructor, and Lyshel is going to be the explorer instructor. So I want all of us as adult counselors to support them in any way, even though you are in a different class, because that's what it's all about, because we are building church leadership. You know, these young people are still part of our church, but there's upcoming leadership, and we want to try to encourage that and mentor them. Also, I think most of us have STV coverage. That's Shield of Vulnerable. The background, Shield of Vulnerable. And Kim, I don't know if you know about that. Okay, she has. Oh, great, that's great. Yes, and Randy has it through Chesapeake Conference. We'll see if we can try to get that transferred over. And then a couple other people who are new to our club. Number 4, the next item, we're just going to keep going. Are there any questions so far? You know, I want you to be aware that I have an open door policy. If you have concerns or questions, please come to me. I mean, I'm a pretty reasonable guy. I won't bite your head off. So, you know, I want this club to work because we are a strong club, and I want to make it work, and I want to still maintain that reputation as Bellsville Broncos. Yes, Pastor.
I was going to say, just reminding, like what we had talked about a little bit, about finding a day that we could do the Shield of Vulnerable training or continue it throughout the year or something, just remind me about that again.
Okay. Yeah, just, I can get somebody from risk management to come out and actually do a presentation on Shield of Vulnerable. Are you meaning to actually go sit down and do it on the computer?
Well, no, I meant like just doing a presentation where we do extra training for people and to help encourage like new people that might come through the church we were talking about.
Yes.
But just reminding, and like last year we did it around September, I think it was. We did a full day thing, and we talked about that in staff meeting as well, but that might be a good idea to do another full day that we can invite other people to come.
Absolutely, yeah, it doesn't have to be Pathfinder because I think it's beneficial
for a whole
have,
school,
yeah, the whole church.
Basketball and
yeah. Okay. Phil's not here. Phil will maintain as the camping coordinator. He'll work with what he's been doing before. That's nothing new. I think Glaston's been helping out with that. We appreciate the water, the gray water and all that. I mean that's a lot of work.
Driving the trucks.
Yeah, driving the trucks, making reservations and so forth. But as you look through this list here of the leadership, this is our team. If you don't see someone on here that you believe should be on here, please let us know. Okay, so we'll go ahead and continue to move on. Lisa is going to talk about the responsibility of the class counselor. She's going to go over the honors requirements and also the good conduct and Pathfinder of the year. So we're going to actually, Lisa's going to go over that, and then we're going to actually introduce that to the Pathfinders at the beginning of the meeting so that they have something to strive for, because it takes a lot. You just don't have to be good, listen, and so forth. There's got to be extra miles that we have to go through. So Lisa will talk about class counselors.
We've got a number of counselors here, I think, right? Okay. For those of you who are seasoned, this is probably nothing new to you, although there will be a few changes. But for those who are new, there may be some things that are helpful. Last year was my first year, and I sure learned a lot along the way. I'm so appreciative to Elise, who served as a mentor to me all year last year, helping me kind of figure out the ropes. But just want to point out that you can go to pathfindersonline.org and print out the requirements for your class in a PDF form. You will notice as you go through the requirements that each of them have quite a few devotional readings and memory verses. I want to point out the school does this. They may not use the same memory verses or the same devotional, but because they're doing the same thing, the whole point is that the kids are engaged in memory work and also devotional reading, so we don't have to require that. So we just want anybody new especially to be aware of that. What they're doing over in the school suffices for that. Now there is a book of the Bible that each class reads. For preference, it's Matthew, for companions, I think it's Genesis, right? We do that, but as far as the other devotional reading. So, and be aware too, there may be some other requirements that are being done at the school, so it's good to check in with your kids that are going to the school and just be aware of what we need to do and what is already being taken care of. We also want to encourage you to plan your schedule to cover trail investiture for whichever class you're doing. There may be some kids. I had one child in our class last year who I think she may have come to a total of 3 meetings. It was hardly any meetings in one camp out. And her parents said, hey, we just wanted to earn what she's there for. So I didn't send her mom any makeup work, and it saved me time because that's not what she was there for. But most of the kids will want to be invested, and then a lot of them too will do the trail investiture. So make sure that whatever you're teaching in class can take those of them who are coming to the trail investiture. But if you've got kids that are missing classes, communicate with the parents. They may not be concerned about that, and it will save you a lot of time to know what they're in it for, so they're really interested in. Want to encourage you as far as possible to accomplish work in class. We don't want a lot of homework for these kids. These kids have so much homework already from the schools. I know that a lot of parents have spoken to me and expressed concern about registering their kids from Pathfinders because they have this idea that it's just so much work. And so if we can try to do as much as we can in class, there's going to be some reading at home. And it's certainly if they want to do extra honors, they can. But we don't want kids to feel like they don't want to join us because it's a lot of work. We want to. The whole point of Pathfinders too is not what they're learning per se for honors. It's that you're actually learning with them. And so we want them to come. We want them to feel part of this. TLTs are also available to teach. You can coordinate that through UNESCO. So any of you counselors teaching, take advantage of that. Our TLTs need to teach, and it will give you a break too. So use our TLTs. Let's get them involved as much as we can. Down to the next bullet point, developing relationships with kids and parents. It's really important to keep in communication with the parents. Get them set up in an email database and communicate with them so they know what's going on. As far as for the kids, I'll tell you just my own experience from high school. I had a principal my freshman year at Academy, and he knew our names. He would go to chapel in the morning and recognize all the birthdays in front of the whole assembly. And when we'd see him going down the hallway, he'd say hello. He'd greet you by name, smile at you. It was a good feeling. He left after my freshman year, and the vice principal became principal. He didn't know our names. He didn't believe in recognizing birthdays in chapel. And if he came to you in the hallway, you were in trouble. He spoke to me one time in my years, and it was to tell me to go change my skirt because it was too short. Okay. Now, I have no idea how these leaders were as far as how their boards viewed them, how their constituents viewed them, how well they did their job. As a kid, all I knew was one cared about me and one they didn't, or so I thought. They may have both cared about me. So just want to really encourage, and I am guilty of this. I know a lot of the younger kids, but one of the first things I'm going to do is try to learn all the names of the older ones. Let's know our kids. Let's greet them when we see them in church, when we see them out in the playground, anywhere you come across them, greet them. Show them that you care about them, because man, that's what I remember about that one principal. And I still stay in touch with them to this day. I know I remember the other ones gone, but you know, it makes a huge, huge difference. Recognize their birthdays. One of the things Andrew and I did was send cards to all of our kids on their birthday. But every one of them came back. Thank you so much. It was something simple, but it meant a lot to them to know that we remembered them. So just look for ways to show them, simple ways to show them they're special. Tracking attendance and conduct for Pathfinder of the Year and the Good Conduct Bar. We want to do that this year, and so we will get information to each of you. We'll email it out so that you know what we're tracking. But I encourage you, when you take out your kids at the beginning of the year, we want them all to earn this. But this is a mentoring opportunity where if there's areas where they're struggling and maybe they're not being honest or they're not following instructions or whatever it is, you have the opportunity to encourage them to what change do you want to see in them and to help them to earn that. So it's something we should be working on all year. But if we wait till the end of the year and then try to award it, it tends to just become something we're giving everyone rather than something we're really taking advantage of and working with them on. Let's see, submitting honors. All the honors that you're going to be teaching this year. If by mid-January you can get that list to Javelin, and just your total number of kids, it doesn't matter if you think 5 of them will get it, 3 won't, just total number of kids, these are the honors we're teaching this year, because it is really hard to get those things in when we order them in April. They're out of stock and stuff, so we want to order them early this year so they have them all for investiture. So she'll speak more about that, but just want to encourage you to have that list to her. Church Connect, you'll notice on the calendar that each month there's something that says Church Connect and then it has a class name, Explorers, Voyagers. That's just a term we're using for when our kids get up and greet. But we want to take it a little further this year. Besides greeting, we like to have them involved as much as they can in the 2 services. So Pastor Will Johnson agreed to be our liaison with the church for that. So if you're a counselor, look and see when your class is scheduled and then communicate with him and coordinate, try to get as many of your kids involved. Have them go in Class A uniform that day and U.S. leaders too. Helps with our church just to see our kids, but it's also great for our kids to get involved. And also, if any of you have boys or girls who want to serve as junior deacons or junior deaconesses, Charlie Ball's very excited and willing to pull any of our kids in and work with them.
And children's stories.
And children's stories.
Story if you want to do it too.
So encourage, I mean, again, the whole idea of Pathfinder is for us to love these kids, to mentor them, and get them involved in church and feel like this is their church, and get them involved in leadership. So look for those opportunities to connect them. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. The community service, we will have a few events planned. We're talking through a few things right now, but your kids can also do community service on their own. Because some of them may miss the activity that we're doing or other things, so definitely encourage them to get working on that, and for the parents to let you know when they have fulfilled those hours. And then, of course, even if they've gotten their hours on their own, they're welcome to join in the activities we'll do as a club. You don't want to let that go till the end. And the last thing, Andrew already addressed the shield of vulnerable. But again, for counselors, an important thing to keep in mind, we want to always maintain a 6-to-1, 1-to-6 ratio. Should always be 1 staff for every 6 kids. And you don't ever want to be in a position where you're by yourself with 1 child. Always have either another staff member or another child with them so that you're not in that position. And that's it. 3 things. Sorry, Andrew, I'll turn things over to you. Yes.
Is there anything that we're going to do this year to reach out to kids who not advanced or here in the community to be part of? Because a lot of families, even Christian families, they don't necessarily want to get their kids involved in Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts because it's such a foreign to them. Is there any ideas about putting something out and let people know that we have a Christian club here?
You mean outside of the Bellsville Church?
Yeah.
I don't know of any right now. That could be some initiative that we could probably pursue. But as an incoming director, I'm not aware. Does anybody know from you or vested?
Silence.
The question was, do we have any outreach initiative to reach people outside of the Bellsville Church or any Adventist church to join Pathfinder?
We haven't particularly reached out to non-Adventists in our club, but I know there are several clubs out there in our Republican division who have non-Adventist pathfinders, even in TBE, the whole team was non-Adventist kids. So it is possible to work on that, yeah. It should be open.
I think it's definitely something that can be implemented do at most we can get, and I can say the learning curve.
Yeah. So at this point, to answer your question, we don't have anything right now. It's possibly something that we can take on. And I'll be frank, right now, that's something additional that I would take on that I'm not ready for. I want to try to make sure that I settle myself in what I'm doing now so that what I do now in terms of leadership is more secure before I venture into that area unless someone else wants to take that on.
I was just going to mention in some of the coursework and actually investor achievement, the children are encouraged to invite their friends, and that's something that at the council level can be done. That they would be able to bring their neighbors and friends with them to the class. I've seen it in, I believe it was in Friends here. That was something that gives me, encourage.
It's in companions
It's in
also. I don't
companions
know if
also.
others, it's in friends and companions,
Yeah.
both of them. So I don't know if it's in the other ones also.
Yeah, so at the
Actually,
council
we
level.
even have a flyer that you put out.